Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. CUNY Votes welcomes you to this evening's training session on ranked choice voting. My name is Stacy Emanuel, and I am the university-wide coordinator for voter registration, and I oversee the CUNY Votes initiative. So for those who are not familiar with CUNY Votes, it is a nonpartisan voter awareness arm unit of the university. Our mission is to promote voter awareness, registration, and turnout. And we do this through campus-based activities. We do this through university-wide partnerships, such as what we have with New York City Votes, who is conducting this evening's training. And we do this through university-wide campaigns. You should also know, for those that don't know, that each campus has a voter registration coordinator. And if you don't know who your coordinator is, you can go on to CUNY Votes webpage, which is cuny.edu/vote. And you can not only find your coordinator, but you can also find a wealth of information on voter registration and 2021 elections and other voter resources. I would like to take a few moments to thank our sponsors, which you see on our screen this evening, for working with CUNY Votes on this event. We are excited that you have joined us this evening to learn some very important information about RCV, as ranked choice voting is known, a new system that we all will be using in the June primary election. CUNY and our sponsors want to do our part to educate students, faculty, and staff about RCV, the 2021 elections, and the importance of voting, because past history has shown low voter turnout for students in these elections. Here to talk to you more about CUNY student voting, the importance of voting local, and what her organization has been doing, please welcome Lynn Jacob from the CUNY Coalition of Students with Disabilities.
Thank you, Stacy. And hello, everyone. My name is Lynn Jacob. I am the secretary of the CUNY Coalition for Students with Disabilities, CCSD, a university-wide group of elected student leaders that represent over 11,000 disabled students at CUNY. What you see in front of you are the rates of CUNY voter turnout for registered students in the presidential elections versus the municipal elections. There is a huge difference with presidential turnout at 71%, while the municipal turnout is a low 18.1%. We should remember that our votes are our voices and all politics are local. Next slide, please. Local elections play a direct role in our everyday lives. Example, when we vote for mayor, we decide who's focused on ADA accessibility and responsible for services like transportation and public education. Voting for city council determines if money will go into areas like housing, retail stores, or sports stadiums. Voting also allows us to adopt laws that directly affect New Yorkers, like the Fair Fares program. The point is, students can influence elections at the local level if we register and vote. CCSD is proud to have partnered with CUNY Votes and New York City Votes in the peer-to-peer initiative. With immense pride, we've dedicated a portion of every virtual event to voter education, registration, and get out the vote. We have successfully held 203 virtual events with a total of 8,229 participants to date. CCSD has even put together a ranked choice voting video that we are excited to show off at the end of this evening's event. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce one of our biggest supporters, Olivia Brady, Youth Voter Engagement Coordinator for New York City Votes. She will be conducting this evening's ranked choice voting training. Thank you.
All Right. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. And I also just want to thank CCSD again and all of the organizations who have partnered with us on this and who are in the peer-to-peer initiative. You all are just an incredible crop of students and young people, and it really is a privilege to get to work alongside you and just uplift the work that you're doing. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive right into this ranked choice voting, Train the Trainer. Okay, let's get started. So as previously mentioned, I'm Olivia Brady. I use she and they pronouns, and I'm the Youth Engagement Coordinator for NYC Votes. For folks who don't know, NYC Votes is a city agency, and we're primarily responsible for two things. So one side of our office works with local candidates. Everything we do is nonpartisan because we are a city agency. We're funded by taxpayer dollars. But you know, that side of the office administers the matching funds campaign, does trainings to make sure candidates know how to file their expenses, you know, and just generally does a lot of work to make sure that our local democracy is transparent. So if you go to our website, you can actually look up candidates and see where they're taking money from, which is really cool. And then the other side of our office is charter mandated by the City Council to do outreach to historically disenfranchised neighborhoods and neighborhoods with low voter turnout. And just making sure that we have comprehensive ranked choice voting education translated into multiple language is a key piece of that this year. And so today I'm hoping you all will be able to take this information back to your communities, back to your friends, your families, your classrooms, and you know, just be able to share and explain, make sure people know how to fill out their ballot. And you know, once we do this, you'll be an expert. Yeah, so we're just going to talk about like why we have ranked choice voting, what it is. We're going to go over the process of tabulation, and then I'm going to share some next steps for doing voter education. And the thing I will kind of, little disclaimer I'll give before we dive right into things is that the average voter does not need to know all of this background information. From the research we did with the Center for Civic Design, most people just need to know, you know, how do I fill out my ballot, and that's pretty much it, right? They just want to make sure that they're voting correctly. Ranked choice voting is a very intuitive idea, a clear process, and we think it'll be really successful. So what is ranked choice voting, right? These are just some buzzwords, right? You might have heard around the topic, right? You can rank candidates in order of preference. It's a new way of voting. There's less negative campaigning in some cases. You might have heard that it gives voters more say. You may have also heard that it could be confusing to folks. You might have heard we're only using it in primary and primary and special elections, you know, and it can also lead to more diverse and representative candidates, which is a super exciting prospect for New York City. So, you know, ranked choice voting, it's just an electoral system, right? It's a way for us to choose our representatives. So with this system, voters can rank up to 5 candidates in order of preference instead of choosing just one. Now, we'll talk a bit more about this later on, but again, you can rank up to 5. That doesn't mean you have to rank a total of 5. And if you want to vote for just one candidate still, that's totally fine. And some of the benefits to this, which again, we'll go into more detail in a minute, just it gives voters more say in who wins. It can increase civility, and it can lead to more diverse candidates winning. I think that's kind of the most interesting piece of this, and I'll show you some of the data from other municipalities who have adopted this. Now, ranked choice voting is new for New Yorkers, but it's actually not new for the rest of the country or even the world, right? So this is a map from Fairvote. It just shows some states, you know, that use ranked choice voting. Everybody uses it a little bit differently, right? Maine and Alaska recently adopted it. San Francisco, Minneapolis, and Santa Fe have been using it for a while. And actually, you know, the Oscars are coming up, right? The Best Picture winner is actually decided through our ranked choice voting process, which is, again, very cool. Right. So the reason that we even like have this reform that's been made to our voting system is because there's a commission, the Charter Revision Commission. They're a group of people, appointed to that seat, and they get together to review the city charter, make sure that it's up to date, that it's reflecting the current needs of the city and of New Yorkers. And so in 2019, they decided to establish a question to make an amendment to the charter that would, allow New Yorkers to choose if they wanted to use ranked choice voting. And the very cool thing about it is that 74% of New Yorkers actually voted yes on ranked choice voting in 2019. So it was a pretty widely popular platform. And it's just really exciting, again, that we have this reform that's been made to our system that the people voted on and agreed. So it's exciting. So just some fast facts here, right? We voted on ranked choice voting in the fall of 2019, but it didn't go into effect until January of this year. And that's because it takes a lot of time to change, the way that we're voting. We're only using it in special and primary elections, not general. Just for clarity, special elections are elections that happen when a candidate leaves office outside of the general election cycle. So we have to have a special election to replace them. And then primary elections, again, we're having a primary in June 22nd. And with primary elections, that's when everyone from one political party gets together and they choose one person from their respective party to run against everyone else in the general. It'll only cover 5 city offices. This is a policy we adopted at the local level, so it's only going to cover these 5 offices. Again, just want to re-emphasize, we're not using it in general elections. And again, it's not being used for state or federal elections. And district attorneys are actually considered county positions. So those are not covered under ranked choice voting either. So kind of to understand, I think this is helpful context, just to understand like why we even made a switch in the first place. We've kind of got to look at some of the maybe flaws with the old way of voting. So with plurality elections for primaries, voters would only choose one candidate for each office, and that candidate with the most votes would win. But in that case, the winner doesn't always win a majority of the vote, because in primary elections in particular, there can be a lot of candidates on the ballot. And so in a case where a candidate did not receive more than 40% of the total vote for the offices on the screen, we would have to have a runoff election. So again, with plurality voting, there's less frequent majority support. But I think kind of the key struggle here, right, is the issue with runoffs. Runoffs have extremely low voter turnout. And the folks who are participating in runoffs tend to be older, less diverse, and have a higher level of education than the average New Yorker, right? So you've got this group of people that's not totally reflecting the diversity or like lived experiences of the rest of New York, who's making decisions for everyone else. And again, they don't even allow full participation. The turnaround time is so quick that if you used an absentee ballot to vote the first time, there's no way the Board of Elections would be able to, print them, send them out, and then give you time to actually receive it and then send it back. And then when we're talking about, the safety and security of our democratic process, the integrity of it, expense is not, kind of the first thing we should be worrying about. But in the case, where because of the pandemic, the city's in a bit of a financial crisis, runoffs can be super expensive. So this is a cost that is eliminated, almost, right? So why are we using ranked choice voting? So the 3 main benefits to ranked choice voting, is that one, it's more democratic, right? Voters have more say at every level. Again, candidates are more likely to appeal to voters rather than attacking each other, which I just find very, very interesting. And then the last piece here is just that voters are electing more diverse and representative candidates in municipalities that use ranked choice voting. So 1, right, you get more say in who gets elected. Even if your top choice doesn't win, you can still help choose who does. And again, ranking other candidates doesn't harm your first choice. Your second choice is only counted if your first choice is eliminated, and so on. This will make more sense, I think, when I explain the tabulation process. And then you can vote for your top choice without worrying about who is likely to win. I think in the last couple election cycles, there have been a lot of conversations about electability. Is this person electable? Is a woman electable for president? These are conversations that tend to pop up. I think they disproportionately impact women, people of color who are running for office. So ranked choice voting really does allow you to vote with your values, to vote with, who your top choice is, without worrying kind of about the messy like politics and strategy of like, well, who is everyone else voting for? Like, I want to make sure that, my vote actually gets counted in that sense. And then the other benefit too is, again, candidates are more likely to appeal to you rather than attack each other. So, just like right, candidates who are not your top choice, in order to win, they still need second, third, fourth, and fifth choice votes, which means that they're going to try to appeal to a wider audience instead of attacking each other. And you can't only win with the support of your base. You have to, reach out to people and, make them rank you somewhere in their ballot. And so one thing about negative campaigning is that it really hurts low voter turnout. I know that I'm not super enthusiastic to vote for someone when there's been a really negative campaign, right? I want to hear, and most other voters want to hear, what can this candidate do? What are your policies? Instead of just attacks against the other person. And so voters actually perceived a reduction in negative campaigning in cities that used RCV. And then what's really cool also is that in a couple instances, like-minded candidates for the same office even endorse each other. So they'll say, rank me as your first choice, but this candidate and this candidate, they would be great second or third choices. And so you can really see how it's encouraging politicians to collaborate more, which again is exciting and can only lead to good things for our city. And then finally, voters are electing more diverse and representative candidates. So elected officials are more representative of the communities that they serve. Now, representing someone, electing someone from a marginalized group to office, right? That doesn't inherently mean that person's going to pass policies, that are good for that group, right? But what it does mean is that you have people who are, having their lived experiences actually inform the policies they're making. I know, like as a woman, it's super important to me that there are people in office who know what it's like to, walk through the street, or know what the challenges around healthcare, for example. That definitely does make a difference. So just some data from San Francisco, the cities in that area that adopted RCV, they saw an increase in the percentages of candidates of color running for office. They saw an increase in the probability of women candidates of color winning office. And candidates of color actually won 62% of ranked choice voting races compared to 38% before the change. So I can kind of see like how the electability conversation that I mentioned early is definitely like being influenced by ranked choice voting. And then again, elected officials are more representative of the communities they serve. So for example, about 51% of New Yorkers are women, but only 23% of city council members are women. And something that's exciting is that 7 cities that use RCV have more equal gender representation in their legislature. And again, in the 13 largest municipalities that use ranked choice voting, there's a lot more diversity in their mayors, which is, again, always always a benefit. So let's explain just kind of like how this actually works. So we know why we have it, we know what the benefits are, but what's the actual mechanism behind it? So again, marking your ballot correctly is the first step here. So you're going to pick your first choice candidate, completely fill in the oval next to their name under the first column. And then if you have a second choice, you'll do the same in the second column, and then so on and so forth until you've ranked up to 5 candidates. And here's an example of a ballot from the Queen's special election back in February. The Queen's ballot is really interesting because it has to be translated in a lot of different languages. But this is just a sense of what it looks like. And I did have to cut some candidates out, just for the sake of having this fit on the screen. But yeah, this is what you can generally expect your ballot to look like. And again, some errors to avoid. So overvoting. So don't rank two candidates the same rank. In this example, right, I don't know if you meant to vote for candidate B or candidate C, and this could disqualify your ballot because it's not clear who you voted for. Now, the Board of Elections, when you go to vote, if you make a mistake on your ballot, you can request a new one as many times as you want. The poll workers are there to help you if you have a question. And again, you can bring resources into the poll booth with you as well. So the Board of Elections sent out some ranked choice voting materials to registered voters. I know NYC Votes is sending out some. We also have a ton of online resources. So, if you're feeling like you need just like a little refresher, take things with you to vote. And then again, do not do a duplicate ranking where you rank the same candidate for multiple ranks. Only your top ranking for them is going to count. And there's no strategic benefit to ranking the same candidate for all rankings. And I think, again, this will make a little bit more sense once I explain the tabulation process. Okay, so how is your vote counted, right? So all first choice votes are counted. And if a candidate receives more than 50% of the first choice votes, then they win the election. So candidate B has won by, quite a bit here. They're the winner of the primary. So in the case where no candidate earns more than 50% of first choice votes, then we're gonna go into counting in rounds. So no one here has won more than 50%. And the candidate with the fewest votes each round is eliminated. So in this case, candidate D only got 12% of first rank votes. So we're going to cross them out and we're going to redistribute those votes. So what's going to happen here is that the Board of Elections is going to find everyone who ranked candidate D as their first choice. They're going to pull all those ballots and look to see who they voted for as their second choice. Now, not everyone is going to rank the same candidates in the same order. So this is just one sample ballot here, right? So this person voted for candidate C as their second choice, right? But as you can see, all of the votes are going to get tallied up and redistributed. Again, no one has more than 50%. We're going to keep going. Candidate C is at 24%. So they're going to get eliminated. We're going to check the ballot, see who the people who ranked candidate C. We're going to look and see who their next choice was. And again, those votes get redistributed. And then this continues until there's only two candidates left. And so the candidate with the most votes wins. And again, because this process, it's a little bit tedious, right? It could take a little bit longer for us to get our votes. It's also new, so the Board of Elections is learning, right? But if it's taking a while, that just means, that they're doing their job, they're counting all the votes, they're taking their time, and it is relatively like a recent development that we know who is the winner of an election on election night. That technology is pretty new. And so no need to worry if it takes a little bit longer to get results. So I actually have a simulation for you all. So this example that I have, it's not a perfect ranked choice voting simulator because you do have to rank all the candidates and you can't write in candidates, etc. But it gives a pretty good idea of what the math looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and just drop this link in the chat, and I'll give you about 30 seconds to a minute to do your simulation, and then we'll come back and take a look at the numbers. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a minute. I'm just waiting for folks to finish up their votes. Take your time. I'll give it like 30 more seconds. I should also share the caveat too, right? Choosing your favorite, food is not the same as, choosing elected officials who are making decisions about your life. But I really like this example because I like the way that the math breaks down. Okay, so let's go ahead and just like look at these answers here. All right, let me refresh one time, show details. Okay, it looks like Dollar Pizza's in the lead here. And so in the first round, right? And the other thing that I like about this too is that I've been using it in all my training. So these are the opinions of a little over 200 young New Yorkers from across the 5 boroughs. Right, so first round, chopped cheese has the least amount of first ranked votes. So they're gonna get eliminated. We're gonna look at everybody who ranked chopped cheese first and see what their second choice is. So all those votes are gonna get redistributed. And so again, you can see how they get redistributed. And what's interesting here is that Halal Cart starts off in the lead, but you can see that more people ranked pizza as their second choice than Halal Cart. So again, hot dog has the least amount of votes. They're getting crossed off. Those votes get redistributed. In round 3, Dollar Pizza's gaining more third rank votes, which again, I find interesting, right? Bagels have the least amount of votes, so they're gonna get crossed out. And then, in round 4, we've got 2 candidates left, and Dollar Pizza has the clear lead with 132 votes. So this is the example. Please share this link. Feel free to share it with your friends and family when you're trying to explain the process. I personally find it to be very helpful. And you can see, right, how it just does give you more say at kind of like every level. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. All right, so some frequently asked questions by voters. Right, most people, again, have the same questions about ranked choice voting. We did a lot of research over the summer with the Center for Civic Design with a focus on new voters and on a focus with new citizens and folks who had limited English proficiency, because those were the voters that we were most concerned about making the transition. Again, so most people wanted to know, right, can I still vote for just one candidate? If you don't want to rank the others, again, totally fine. And you don't have to rank a total of 5, you can rank up to 5. Right. If you rank 5 candidates, do 5 votes get counted? No, we just talked about this in the tabulation simulator, right? So your vote is only going to count towards your highest rated candidate who's not been eliminated yet. And so if your top choice gets eliminated, right, your vote's going to move to the next highest ranked candidate. And then is there a benefit to ranking multiple choices? Yeah, right. The benefit's pretty clear. Again, you have a say every step of the way. And yeah, but again, if you only want to vote for one candidate, if you only want to rank 2, 3, or 4, totally fine. Another thing to consider, I should add as well, is that for mayor, for example, there's a lot more than 5 candidates running for office. So you'll want to think ahead of time about who your top 5 choices are. And we have a voter guide on our website. You can find it at voting.nyc. You can also follow us on social at NYC Votes. You can also find CUNY Votes on Twitter and Facebook at CUNY Votes. And then CUNY Civics is on Instagram at CUNY Civics. And we'll all be sharing updates like when the voter guide goes live. So again, just some resources to keep in mind. Anything you need to know about ranked choice voting is going to be on nyccfb.info/RCV resources. There's a 1-pager ranked choice voting explainer that's in 11 languages. There's an FAQ site that's continuously updated. There's partner toolkits. So if you want to get some social media graphics to share out, you can sign up for another training or like encourage, your peers to sign up for a training. And right now I would love for everybody to just take like 30 seconds, take your phone out and take the CUNY Pledge to Vote. You can text CUNY Votes to 1-917-979-6377. And by doing this, you'll get updates about, voter registration deadlines, elections, all of that. All of it's nonpartisan. So we're not telling you who to vote for. We're not asking for campaign donations. We just really want to make sure that all New Yorkers have access and the ability to cast their ballots this election season. So again, that is CUNY Votes at 1-979-979-6377. And we'll also be sending up a follow-up email with, again, all of these links and resources. So again, let's talk voter education. So one of the things to note is that, again, RCV is an inherently intuitive concept. So after the Minneapolis 2017 election, they did exit polling survey, and 92% of voters said that they found ranked choice voting simple to use, which is great news, right? The other thing is that 99.96% of the ballots were valid, which meant that voters had high confidence and high proficiency in ranking ranked choice voting ballots. And 87% took advantage of the ability to rank candidates. So people know how to use it, they're doing it well, and they're actually utilizing this resource as well. Right. So the other thing to think about, right, when you're doing your Get Out the Vote outreach, ranked choice voting has to be a part of that. So if you're just doing like ranked choice voting training, that's great. Everyone, may become an expert in ranked choice voting, but if they don't know how to register or how to find their poll site in addition to that, they're not actually going to be able to utilize their ranked choice voting knowledge. So you want to incorporate this into whatever general voter outreach you're doing. And again, it's important to stay nonpartisan. It helps people, have trust in your institution, etc. And kind of the two main components is that you want to make sure you're helping voters make a voting plan, and you're also providing them with a little bit of personalized information. And then again, to use RCV, right, voters have to turn out to vote. And the other thing is, us group here, right, we're kind of like very engaged in politics and elections. We kind of maybe know what's going on a little bit more, but the average person is not thinking about who they're going to vote for or tuning into the election until about 2 to 4 weeks before voting starts. So probably like the beginning of May, like mid-May, you'll want to like dig down deep and figure out how you're going to do some of these outreach plans, because that's when people will like be engaged and be able to retain that information the best. That's like what the common political science data and research shows about doing outreach. And again, you want to keep it voter centric. So it's about how voters can cast their ballot, right? It's not about how this affects campaigns or politicians. It is a tool for New Yorkers to make their voices heard at the ballot. And again, you all are trusted community members. So ground your messaging in what you know about your community. What are CUNY students like passionate about right now? What's going to get your fellow classmates like geared up to vote? If you're a professor or an administrator, how can you best uplift like the perspectives of students right now to really get this messaging out? And some options for students to think about in terms of doing outreach: talk to your professors, see if you could take like 5 minutes of Zoom class to just like plug, registering to vote. See if you can send an email out to your class, just with this information. Even just doing those simple things, showing the people in your class that like, I'm the person who knows about voter registration, that'll make them feel comfortable to come and talk to you maybe, and get the answers to the questions they need. And then again, we did a lot of research with the Center for Civic Design, and basically, right, most voters just want to know the basics, right? We've been calling it at our office, right? Voters want to bite. So, they just want to know how to fill out their ballot. That's their main concern, that their ballot is valid. And then a smaller percentage of voters want to know more. We call that a snack, right? So they want to know the details of like why it's happening, why would they fill out more than one choice, and how that impacts their candidate. And then a very, very even smaller percentage of candidates want to know all the details, right? We've been calling that a meal, right? They want to know how the tabulation works, and like what are the voting strategies. And when voters want to know more, the key thing that they usually want to know about is just like why this is happening, like why is there a change? And there's a reason I put that 74% in big red letters on the screen earlier. Remember that. 74% of New Yorkers voted yes on ranked choice voting in 2019. And again, that's why we're only using it for city offices, because it was adopted as a city policy. And then, just some talking points that you can hang on to. I'll be sending a copy of this out to everyone afterwards, so you can look through these at your own will. But, just voters are going to have more say in who gets elected. You're able to support your favorite candidate. Candidates are more likely to appeal to a wider audience. There's less negative campaigning. Voters are electing more diverse candidates. And there's more representative elected officials. So those are kind of the top lines to remember when you're doing voter outreach. And then, our research and our experience, voters are understanding this after a pretty simple explanation. They love the idea, right, that candidates are focusing on appealing. And then also, like, as New Yorkers, we really value the diversity of our city, and we want to make sure that our representatives actually look like the places they're representing. So we've already used RCV 4 times, twice in Queens and twice in the Bronx, but the whole city is going to be using it in June. And then so just some key takeaways, right? Review our materials. You can always go back to our website. Think ahead of time, what's your plan for voters? And think about who you are. Are you a member of an organization? Are you part of CUNY peer-to-peer? Are you just a student who's interested and wanting to get involved? Your positionality there will really affect the outreach, the kind of outreach that you're going to do, right? Again, if you want to take this presentation and teach it yourself, like, please reach out to me. We can help you customize it if you're interested. Definitely, please conduct trainings at your school, places of worship, etc. And again, if you have a get out the vote plan, right, you want to start about a month before the election, and you want to incorporate RCV into that. And again, check out at NYC Votes and at CUNY Votes on social media for more information. So again, here are the primary election dates. Please remember them. Take a screenshot of this. Right, you have to be registered to vote by May 28th. In order to vote in the primary, you also must be registered with a political party. That is an important thing to note. There's also vote by mail as an option. You can request online at nycabsentee.com, and just be aware of those deadlines. And then we also have early voting in addition to voting on election day. And then the general election in the fall is a little bit of ways away. We're not using ranked choice voting for that, but it's always good to just have these on your calendar so you're ready, you're prepared. And just some, you can visit voting.nyc for like general voting resources. You can visit nyccfb.info/RCV resources for ranked choice voting specific materials. And then you can also register to vote and find more CUNY resources at cuny.edu/vote. My email is on the screen here. Again, feel free to take a screenshot of this, write these links down, take my email down. Please reach out to me with, any concerns or questions you might have. And with that said, I think we can go ahead and move into, the Q&A portion of the evening. Awesome. Okay, so I'll answer Paul's question first. So Paul, I would really recommend visiting voting.nyc just to check that your registration's up to date. I'll type the answer here, voting.nyc. You'll want to check that your voter registration's up to date. And if you've moved, you will want to, update it with your new address. When will absentee ballots be available to be requested? You can actually start requesting them now. I requested mine the other day. It's literally the easiest thing to do online. It took me like a minute to request it. Here's the website. It's so easy to remember, nycabsentee.com. If you have like older family members or like older neighbors who are not super tech savvy, with their permission, you can request a ballot. With their permission, you can request a ballot for them. So, again, super easy. And then just a note on absentee voting while I have everyone here. Once you get it and fill it out, you have two options to return it. One, you can mail it. You'll need to stamp it if you do that though. And the second option, which is the option that I've been using, is just that you can actually deliver it in person to a poll site. No postage required. So there's an early voting site around the corner from me. I fill out my ballot and you don't have to wait in line. The Board of Elections has these secure red, white, and blue drop boxes. You can put your ballot in and you're out of there. Alinda, I see you said redistributed 50-50. I'm a little unclear as to what that means. Could you just add some more context to that question, please? And if anyone, again, I'm happy to answer any questions about ranked choice voting, about just generally registering. You have me here. The eliminated candidates' votes are redistributed 50-50. No. So Alinda, when you go through the tabulation process, it's not going to be 50-50. You're going to look at each individual, well, the Board of Elections, not us, right? The Board of Elections is going to look at each individual ballot, and they're going to see who voted for which candidate, where they ranked them. So it's not going to be like a 50-50 split. Everyone's going to have different rankings on their ballot, and so the votes will get redistributed that way. Does that make sense? I just want to clarify and make sure that's clear. And again, my email is obrady@nyccfb.info. I will share that slide with just these links one more time, just so you guys have them. Oops. Awesome. So I'll leave this up while I answer questions. Okay. So I want to get to Alinda's question first, right? So all the eliminated candidate votes will go to the highest ranking candidate. Yep. So if on, let me actually just go back to this slide. Too many slides here. Right. So Alinda, all the eliminated candidate votes, they're going to go, it's by what your ballot says. So everybody's ballot is going to look different, and the votes are redistributed based on the individual ballots. So this person, for example, ranked candidate D got eliminated. So now their vote is going to move to candidate C. In this round, candidate C gets eliminated. So now their vote is going to move to candidate B. And again, everyone's ballot is going to look differently. They're going to look at how everyone's ballot looks and who they ranked. And again, if that's still not clear, please let me know. We have a ton of videos and everything on our social media that you can look at that will hopefully help clarify things. And Ariane, that's a great question. So the way that you can update your voter registration address or name is simply just by filling out a new form. There will be a section on the form that says, where were you last registered at? So if you've moved, if you've changed your name, if you want to update your political party, just be careful that you fill out that section, just so the Board of Elections knows that you're not a new voter and that they know to update your old record. And you can actually visit voting.nyc or actually cuny.edu, /vote has a link on their site for you to register if you are a CUNY student. Yeah, Jeffrey, thank you for that question. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Many places in New York City also have representatives that look like the people they represent already. It's not the case that no one in New York City feels represented by their offices. It's just one benefit that may benefit certain neighborhoods. And so some of the offices, again, that are up for election that we'll be using ranked choice voting for are mayor, city council, comptroller, borough president, and public advocate. So those 5 offices will be using ranked choice voting. Jeffrey, please let me know if that answered everything. If you have questions about specific elected offices, let me know. Eric, the deadline to register is May 28th. So if you're already registered and you were not registered with a party, we have this like very weird system where if you're a registered voter and you want to update your party affiliation, you have to have done it by February 14th. So if you haven't already updated your party registration and you were already a registered voter, you unfortunately will not be able to vote in the primary election. Yes. Okay, so if you visit, Paul, voting.nyc, I believe there's a link to check your voter registration. If not, let me Google it really quickly and I'll get that up for you. Check my and then I just shared in the chat again a link that'll take you just directly to the voter registration like portal where you can check your voter registration. Any other questions? I think we have like, Stacy, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have like 2 more minutes for Q&A.
Sorry, I was on mute. We're doing good.
Awesome, cool. Yep.
Did
So
we talk about the dates for absentee ballot deadlines, the application, and also the submission? And I don't remember if it was in your slide or not, but if you could go over that again.
yeah, definitely. Again, I think right now with the pandemic, I think absentee voting is a really great option. It's also cool too, like if you have, you know, family members that you're comfortable talking about like politics with, or if you have friends that are like really interested in the election, get your absentee ballot. I know my partner and I have both requested them, and we actually do the research together and like fill them out together and like debate about like who we should vote for. So it really gives you time to like sit down more and like think really deeply, maybe more so than you would if you were just hurrying into the ballot box. Again, you should vote however you feel comfortable doing. So if you'd rather vote in person during early voting or on election day, again, it's totally a personal preference. But if you'd like to vote absentee, you'll need to request by June 15th. I would do it today. Like, do not wait until June 15th to request your absentee ballot, just because, you know, the mail's been a little bit slow and all of that. If you want to vote absentee, like request as soon as possible. And then if you're going to mail it, I would just, if you're going to mail it, I would not wait until June 22nd. I would give yourself at least a week. But again, you can drop it off at any poll site. Doesn't have to be the one you're registered at during early voting or on election day. And the Board of Elections has these secure drop boxes. You can put it right in, make sure you sign the ballot. That is very important. And you don't have to wait in any of the lines on election day. Just checking these questions again. Paul, I think we did actually update that voting.nyc, and for some reason it's a little bit tricky to find the check your registration. But I did share it in the answered section, that link for where you can go. If you ever can't find it, you can just Google like voter registration status NYC, and it's like the second link that comes up. Okay. Any other questions here before I pass it back to CCSD to show us their wonderful video? Okay. Well, if no one has any questions, you all have my email. I'll just put it on the screen one last time, and feel free to reach out about anything. All right.
Thank you, Olivia. It was a lot of information, very good information, so that we all can get ourselves ready to vote in the June 22nd primary election. And just to reiterate, you have to be registered in a party to vote in the primary election and to vote using ranked choice voting. It will not be available for the general election. So I just wanted to reiterate that. Again, what I'm going to do now is we're going to do a call to action, and I would like to turn it over to, and this will be before we show the CCSD video. So I would like to call on Annette Cruz from LaGuardia Community College to do the call to action.
Good evening, everyone. So now that you learned about ranked choice voting, student voting, and the 2021 New York City elections, we encourage you to take the following actions right now. Number one, register to vote. If you're not registered, make sure you visit the website and register as soon as possible. As you learn, all politics are local. This is your time to use your voice and engage in the political machine of New York City. The system can't be changed if we aren't doing our part to democratically change it. We're inviting you to participate in the initiative of taking the Pledge to Vote campaign. In partnership with New York City Votes, We Power New York City campaign, we want to ensure that every eligible voter in New York City uses the information that you just learned about and vote in the June primary elections. Our goal is to get 25,000 students to take the pledge. So voting affects the entire community, and as you know, there's power in numbers. So tell other people, spread the word. 2021 elections are around the corner. Ranked choice voting is here. So just share this with 2 to 3 friends via text, social media, and let them know why you're voting. What is important to you? What issues matter to you? And why is it that you're taking your voice to the polls? With that said, I pass it back to Stacy.
Thank you, Annette, for the call to action. You can take a moment and you can take the pledge to vote. You can go onto CUNY, as Annette said, cuny.edu/vote website to register to vote and to update your voter registration if you need to. I would also like to mention that when you go on the CUNY Votes webpage, you will also see some information about all of the offices that are up for elections and what the role and responsibilities are for each of those offices. I know that's something that people tend to mention, you know, I don't know what a public advocate does, or I don't know what the controller does. There's some information on that site about what some of the city elected offices duties and responsibilities are. And also, because we have this new voting system, ranked choice voting, you know, there's going to be a need to learn more about the candidates that you are going to be ranking. And so I would like to mention that today, Citizens Union went live today with a website, and it's called elect, ELECT, where if you go on that web page, they have all information for all the candidates that are running for elected office as well. They've gathered information, both independent and from the candidate's website, and they put it all in this one place. So this will be a helpful resource as you all are looking in your particular districts and areas when it's time to vote, to get to know about the candidates, and you don't have to go to various candidate sites. So again, that's electnyc.org. And with that being said, we'd like to thank everyone that have came out this evening to hear about ranked choice voting. And we will leave you with this video that CCSD put together as their way of educating their constituency, as their way of spreading the message about ranked choice voting and about voting. Just give me a minute and I will pull that video up. Oh, give me a second. Gotta have to share the sound at the same time.
Now, hello everyone. My name is Leonard Blades, and I am a proud co-alumni advisor for the CUNY Coalition for Students with Disabilities.
Hola, mi gente. Mi nombre es Lenine Jacob, secretaria de CUNY Coalition for Students with Disabilities.
And we want to remind you that ranked choice voting is now an option in New York City for primaries and special elections.
Queremos recordarles que votación por clasificación de opciones ahora es el método en la ciudad de Nueva York para las elecciones primarias y especiales.
You have up to 5 candidates to vote for in your order of preference.
Usted tiene hasta 5 candidatos para votar en orden de preferencia.
Follow us on Facebook as the CUNY Coalition for Students with Disabilities and on Twitter and Instagram, CCSD_advocates. And remember, folks, there is nothing about us without us.
Mi gente, presente.
And that concludes our ranked choice voting, training, and information session. Again, I thank you all for joining us. And again, if you're not registered to vote, register. If you haven't taken the pledge, take the pledge. And please spread the word, not only about the 2021 elections, but about ranked choice voting as well. Good night, everybody.